Hi everyone, this is the video to accompany my case analysis of a Ryanair incident whereby there was an altercation between two of its passengers, and one of the passengers used racist language towards another. This was videoed and then put on social media, and Ryanair has received a lot of criticism about the way that it has dealt with the video, namely, it didn't deal with it in a very good amount of time, and also the statements that it produced about the video didn't really seem to address the main big issues at hand. So, to put it into context, I want to have a look at the timeline of events throughout this situation. So the actual incident happened on the 19th of October. There was an altercation between two passengers, and a lot of people claimed that the staff, the Ryanair staff, didn't handle it properly. What they did is they moved the woman who was receiving the abuse to another seat as opposed to dealing with the man. This video was uploaded to social media, and then by the 20th of October, big newspapers, both domestic and internationally, started to circulate the video. It was only until the 21st of October that Ryanair produced this very clinical response, which just said, "We are aware of this video and have reported this matter to Essex Police," not addressing any of the issues included in the video or trying to comfort their customers that racism or discrimination is something they do not condone. By the 22nd of October, there was a petition that was started to try and get Ryanair to apologise to the woman in the video. This started to gain momentum, and to this point Ryanair had not responded to any of this, and the hashtag boycott Ryanair began trending on Twitter. It was only until the 26th of October that Ryanair issued a statement with some words from its CEO. And here is where the statement was issued on the Twitter, simply saying that Ryanair's statement on racist video, and we'll look into this in a second. And they started to receive a lot of backlash from other newspapers. This one from The Independent saying Ryanair finally responds to racist abuse video, saying it treated incident with urgency. So a lot of people effectively saying that Ryanair did not deal with it as quickly and swiftly as it should have. And this started to make the rounds in terms of people's comments to it. So when they released this statement on the 26th, people were saying that they needed to do more as an airline to show that they don't condone any of this on both a personal level to the woman who was involved and subject to it, but also to show other people that racism or discrimination is not acceptable as part of their organisation and will be dealt with by their organisation properly. Other people talking about the fact that they took so long to respond, and people actually directly mocking their PR capabilities. So how could it have been handled differently? Well, on the 19th of October, the video was uploaded, and yes, it did the rounds on the 20th of October. This is when Ryanair stated that they actually found out about the video. What they should have done is called their PR team together and issued some sort of statement. Typically, I would have used social media, as it's a platform that can issue direct instant statements on this kind of issue. So what I've done here is drafted a couple of posts, both on Twitter and Facebook, which I believe would have addressed the issue at hand better than the statements that they issued previously. So here's an example of the Facebook post that I've drafted. Essentially what Ryanair want to show people is that even at this early stage of the investigation, even though they can't give too much information about it, and they can't effectively jump the gun in terms of what the situation was, they want to remind people that racism is not acceptable within their organisation, and that they will do everything they can to deal with it effectively. At the end of this Facebook post here, we've got the hashtag love not hate. What we're trying to show is that, okay, firstly, of course, racism is not acceptable, but actually it goes into the wider spectrum of discrimination. And Ryanair here, in this Facebook post, are condoning any form of discrimination and reminding their customers that they have a very strong stance on this, rather than simply stating that they've seen the video and then it's out of their hands. Twitter gives the opportunity to also provide information instantly. even though it provides slightly less information. What we've done here is not actually address the video, but to remind the customers of the values that Ryanair has, which does not include and will not include racism, again echoing that hashtag love not hate. So I want to look at the statements that I've put forward, but before we do that, we might want to have a quick look at the statement Ryanair actually issued themselves, and why, in many ways, this was deemed quite a weak response. So this is the response that they gave. It was largely just a defense of Ryanair's actions and providing evidence that Ryanair basically did not do anything wrong. The media was stating that Ryanair didn't do anything in a quick enough time, and effectively the whole piece is just trying to state that actually they did. You can see some parts are underlined where they're trying to stress the immediacy of their actions. On the second page, it has a small part from the CEO. Effectively, what this does is it distances the entire statement from the CEO, and it almost looks like the CEO is just signing this off and giving extra remarks. It's not actually coming from the CEO themselves or being drafted up by the CEO. And they are not really addressing the fact that racism or dealings with racist instances might be an issue in an organization. All they're trying to do is defend themselves, and here they state that we trust that the statement will address the inaccurate media coverage of this incident over recent days, and that the legal rights of both passengers will be respected. So it's not really looking at the main issue at hand, and it's not comforting its customers that Ryanair is a safe airline that you can use regardless of what ethnicity or cultural backgrounds you might have. So what should they have done? Well, some of you may remember, again in 2018, Starbucks had an issue with two men that were told not to trespass, even though they were just entering the cafe. And so what Starbucks did was they did immediate action. They closed 8,000 US stores for racial bias training. So they showed that actually this issue was bigger than the singular incident. Maybe they need to look into their training throughout the organization, and they did this as a gesture to show how serious they were about making this part of the organization. It did receive a little bit of criticism from certain news sites. This one from the New York Times, where they state that Starbucks' tall order tackles systematic racism in 4 hours. However, largely it was seen as a positive PR move to show basically the nation that they were strong on condoning racism. So this is the PR statement that I've drafted up for Ryanair to publish. Effectively, it differs from the statement they originally produced because it does not have a defensive tone to it. What it's trying to do is actually realize that yes, racism is something that all organizations need to look at, and that it's trying to reassure its customers that this is something that Ryanair takes incredibly seriously. So this open letter has been written to address the incident which we were made of on the 20th of October 2018, documenting an altercation between or including racist and abusive language towards one of our passengers by another passenger on the flight. We would like to highlight in this statement the steps taken by the company to date and our future steps to ensure prevention of occurrences such as this, alongside the ensuring of best practices for their dealing with if such unfortunate episodes do arise. We want to take this opportunity to assure our customers that we are proud to hold a zero-tolerance policy towards racism, and any incidences brought to our attention that involve racist or discriminatory behavior of any kind will be dealt with swiftly, properly, and without reservation. All of our staff undergo extensive training and assistance to help prepare them for incidents such as these. Unfortunately, in this case, these measures failed to diffuse and deal with properly a situation which clearly included abuse of a discriminatory nature. Whilst we immediately notified both the Spanish and English police of the video and worked cooperatively with both police forces, our focus is now on our preventative and reactive measures and how we can improve them. We are not going to take this opportunity to point any fingers at individuals involved, as this is being handled by the relative policing forces, but are taking it as a chance to see where we can grow as a company to prevent any further incidences of this sort and to maintain our promise of a safe and enjoyable experience for all of our customers. We are therefore currently doing an extensive review into our current training policies and provisions to ensure that discriminatory abuse is dealt with in a timely, firm and fair manner. It is with a heavy heart that we have to recognise that instances such as this still exist in our societies, but we must take this forward as a company and act accordingly towards stamping out this sort of abuse from our operations. We want to thank you, our customers, for your continued support as together we look towards our vision of connecting the world together. Robin Keeley. So what we've tried to do in this PR statement is say, okay, there was an incidence of racism, but it's much bigger than this, and what we want to do is actually use this as a stepping stone to really look at how our organisation deals with racism and to reassure you that this is something that we take incredibly seriously, and it's trying to portray itself as a more personal message given by the CEO as opposed to something that is routinely given out and signed off by the CEO. So these are the things that I think Ryanair could have done differently had they tried to approach the situation recognizing that actually the problem was not the singular incidents, but actually a possible lack of instruments in place when dealing with racist or discriminatory issues.